early August. As we move through the summer, we have low volume, generally less opportunity, although today, Tuesday, August 7th, was pretty decent in the morning for some, from what I understand. Not necessarily for me, but for you guys. Overall, there was some direction. It's a beach ball underwater. Quickly just updating to what's going on now in case people aren't in the trading room, which you should be day to day. But I talked about what's the story right now. The market has some underlying strength, especially the S&P 500. You could argue with it, you could fade it, and you could be wrong. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's they're pricing in China and the U.S. won't go into a trade war and they'll sit down and work something out. They're pricing in Manafort, this big trial that could make us bullish or bearish, is going to be maybe not guilty. I don't know. Or it's going to be guilty and we go down and go up. Again, I don't know, but it is going to be an important verdict once it comes down and hits the wire if we're open. Second or third, the Russia collusion investigation against President Trump. If that comes to a conclusion without any damning indictments, that's bullish for stocks, bearish for bonds. All these things are going to happen. Whether or not they happen during trading hours or whether or not you're at your desk, we don't know. It could happen over the weekend, or it could just be rumored, priced in, and then it's not as big of a surprise. But we're going to get a conclusion to the Manafort trial. We're going to get a conclusion one way or the other to the special prosecution of Mueller against Russia collusion with the Trump campaign, and we're going to get a trade war or not. All these things will happen, and that's what will make August a little more interesting than it otherwise would be. Don't press, don't force stuff. But what I wanted to circle back to today, and for those that don't know, Brad is a guy who's contributed to a couple prior edge sessions in the past couple years. He's going to do more. He's going to do one this week, but we pushed it to next week because I want to cover this first, and he was flexible. So what's important here is we see edge zones, whether you use them or not. I want you to be able, I always seen them in my own head without them being able to print on the screen. It's helped a lot of people to have the visual of greens and reds, right? And a lot of people get stuck into, well, what imbalance percentage do you have? What's the min diff? And those are important, don't get me wrong. But they're not as important if you don't understand why they would be created. And even if you guys understand this, this is a good review. And I bet you not everybody is as good as understanding order flow as you should be, because I could pick anyone out, and I guarantee you most, I'm not singling out anybody, but I guarantee many wouldn't quote the market as well as you should. If you can't quote it, you can't follow it. You can't follow it. How are you going to pick up different nuances you're looking for? You might as well not even look, right? If you're trying to look at the dome and you're trying to study, you should be able to quote. That's one of the first exercises and one of the first videos in track 4 for a reason. So we're going to bring a dome over in a second, but first, because I'm still using GoToWebinar, and I'm going to talk briefly about moving to Zoom technology for these meetings as well. As you guys know, a few months ago, we went to Zoom for Everyday Room. We're going to do it for the Tuesday sessions next week. I'm going to provide a link for you guys to sign up. I know there are going to be people that forget or people that don't get it, and we'll have some hiccups with it, but that's what we're planning on doing. So this should be the last. This doesn't matter for people that necessarily are watching this on recording in the future, but for you guys, this should be the last GoToWebinar hosted Tuesday meeting. So this notepad I brought up, I want you guys to look at first. What I want you to look at is this side of the ledger. Forget about what's over here. Just focus right here. Also focus that if you were to divide this in two, the best bids are on the left and the best offers are on the right. We know that based on most of our domes are set up. All right, so forget about, if you split this in two, forget about this side for now. The best bids on the left is 60/4. The best offers on the left or on the right, and it's important you know your left from right too. On the left is 60 quarter, on the right is 60 half, okay? The best bid, people who want to buy it, are bidding 60 quarter. People who might want to sell it are offering 60 half. At this point, we know that. We should know that and everything else. Forget about the size that's next to the offer and the size next to the bid for now. Just understand, from an example's sake, what has to happen for the best bid to become the best offer. What has to happen? That means what has to happen is they have to satisfy all the people bidding and have other people say, I now want to sell it there. But wait, nobody wants to buy it there. That means you're the best offer. If you say to me, Anthony, I want to sell it at 60 quarter, and I say, well, there's nobody there that wants to buy it anymore, John, well, then I guess I got to offer it there, right? That's what it means, or that's what has to happen for 60 quarters to go from bid to offer. Now, I ran it over here because that's what it looks like on the right side. If we split this in two, when the 60 quarters are offer, it slides over. People are willing to sell it now at 60 quarter. People are willing to buy it at 60 even. And up and down the ladder we go. All right? You have to know what it takes for a bid to go offer. You have to know what it takes for an offer to go bid. What does it take for an offer to go bid? Nobody more people want to sell it. Yet people want to buy it at that price. Right? And I'm not saying this in a condescending way. I think some people know this, and I think some people don't. I think it's a good refresher for those that do, and it's really important for those that don't. This is the impetus of which might make great qualifying moments. But if you don't understand it really simply, then you're not going to be able to build on it. Now, edge zones. This is why I'm tying this all together. It's really important to know, before you consider an imbalance percentage and a min diff and things that might create more or less red or green edge zones, really important to know before that is not only what makes a zone, whatever the criteria is set for, but also the dynamic of what the hell is going on there if you could attach sound to it. Now, here's what I mean. If the market right now is priced 60 quarter bid, 60 half offer, people want to buy it at 60 quarter and they want to sell it at 60 half. If they finally trade through 60 quarters and they take the 60 quarter offer, so now 60 quarter is the best offer. And as soon as they do that, a bunch of 60 evens trade. So just think about that, sir, for a second. 60 quarters are the best bid. I go and say, it just went offered. And instead of saying, I'm going to offer it with 60 quarters because it just went offered, I should get it, I just right away hit the 60 evens and say, screw it. I'm not waiting. Well, what do you mean you're not waiting? It just went 60 quarter offer. You should probably get it. It was trading back and forth. No, BS. I want the 60 even. That's when the edge zone will go red, because people are aggressively selling more than they're aggressively buying. Okay? But do you see the dynamic? The price, and this is the word used, just turned. It just turned from 60 quarter bid to 60 quarter offer. And people aren't willing to wait and sell 60 quarters. They're saying, screw it, I'll sell 60 evens, which is a worse price if you're selling. They don't want to miss it. Or maybe there's a bunch of stops that just slip lower. There's a bunch of stops. And what does a stop do when it misses your price? At some point, it just slips and trades, if it's a sell stop, the lower price, right? Generally, if it's a stop market order. But the point I'm trying to make is the red edge zone would light up red at that particular price. What does that tell you? Well, if price doesn't continue to go south, you might have just cleared out enough selling to go up. If the price doesn't continue to go south, when a bunch of selling just aggressively came in, it must have got absorbed, and it might have just cleared out enough selling from above to make the path easier and clearer to go north. But just think of this dynamic, and I'll put sound to it. 60 quarters are bid if it was just in the pit. 60 quarter bid, 60 quarter bid. Someone says sold, 60 quarter offer, and they do it loud. That's what turns the market, right? There's one guy bidding for 10 contracts, 60 quarter in the pit. And he says quarter bid for 10. Someone says sold, 60 at 60, 50. All right. Let me know if it goes back. How about now? Is it still good? Because I went and I started recording again. Still good? All right. There we go. All right. Hey, this is why we're leaving GoToWebinar. All right. So I lost you when I started to get on the turn, right? When the guy in the pit, that's the word I want you to embrace in this event, in this webinar. And that is the turn. So when the market goes from 60 quarter bid, remember we split this into to 60 quarter offer, it turned. Now it's turning a lot. It's turning all the time. But when you first get a market to turn and go from 60 quarter bid to 60 quarter offer, there should be time to sell the 60 quarters because they just turned. You know what I mean? It's just fresh. It just satisfied the buyers. Come on. It should work. But when it happens and they quickly say, the hell with it, I'm going to sell 60 evens, is generally a move that's pretty aggressive, or selling pretty aggressive, and you'd get a red imbalance. You get a red edge zone, and a red imbalance. Why is that important? Like I said before, you might have satisfied all the short or enough stop sell orders to clear the path up, or it might be a continuation, but now you have a moment and timing to ask the right question. Was all this selling? Why did they do that? If you guys were ever in the pit for any period of time, when a market turned, generally you didn't have a bunch of guys hitting the bid below it right away. You just didn't, generally. And when you did, it was an important moment to pay attention. The volume, that's why my volume was trying to go up, because the volume of the pit went up. When the guy hit the quarters, 60 quarters, and turned it offer, and they went after the bid below, that was a spike in volume in the pit, not on the floor. So you got to understand that, and the edge zones now create that volume for you, or should. Now, when you ask the question of, wait a second, they quickly hit the 60 evens, and then they went 60 quarter bid, there's some PO'd sellers. Tell me this. If a market just like, and it happens when your stop slips, say that you're not going to sell 60 quarters until there's like 200 left, right? You've got that stop mechanics where it's not going to sell your stop or trigger your stop until there's like 150 or 200 left, then it'll hit it. Well, it goes below 200 and it misses the 60 quarters, right? And then it elects your stop at 60 even, and then it goes 60 quarter bid again. Are you mad? If you sell 60 evens and 2 seconds later you could have sold 60 quarters, are you mad? You're damn well right you're mad. Even if it's just a tick. If it's happened 2 seconds, if it happened an hour later, 20 minutes later, 5 minutes later, that's different. But I'm telling you, if you sell 60 evens and right away 2 seconds later you could have sold 60 quarters, you're not going to be happy. Well, then neither is a bunch of other people if they sold a bunch of them on a price below it. This isn't going to make you money every tick and every move. This is something to recognize so you know when to ask the right questions. All right? That's what's important. That's what makes a red edge zone red, is they quickly went after it. And then what happens? All right? So let's get rid of these drawings and let's move the notepad over and let's go to a red edge zone that didn't work and was right in here. Now when they went, what's the prices here? $59.75 bid is what they had eventually hit. But guess what? You got to stay with me on this. This shouldn't be confusing. But if you look at this a second, right here, oh shoot, I got to get rid of that. Right here is the 60 quarter, 60 half is the price I used, for example, on the notepad, right? But now stay with me on this. Right above where it got red, right above it would be 60 even, bid, 60 quarter, offer. And as soon as it went 60 even offer, they hit 744 at 59.75. As soon as they took the 60 even from bid, because it's 60 even bid and 60 quarter offer, as soon as they took the 60 evens from bid to offer, now the 60 evens are offered, the son of a guns hit the 59.75s pretty quickly. So much where it was an imbalance, 744 versus 22. It went down and quickly came up. So it may not have been like 2 seconds, but it was not very long did it take for people who sold them really quick to say, damn it, if I just would have waited, I could have sold it higher, better, right? But they got aggressive. If it doesn't continue down, there's a chance it's going to be a beach ball underwater in this case, in this scenario, in this example. That's the way I want you to start reading this. Now, let's take it from an offer going bid. When an offer goes bid, it only means that you've exhausted all the sellers and the buyers now are still wanting to buy it, but nobody's there to buy from. All right? Nobody is there to buy from. And it was these two prices before it got fast. 60 even offer, 59.75 bid, right? That's the market. Before any of this happens, all of a sudden the 60 evens go bid and the SOBs jump and they buy a bunch at 60 quarter. They jump and they bid those and they buy a bunch at 60 half. So much that it's an imbalance that a green edge zone went across. Why are they so impatient? Slow down, guys. What's the matter? Well, if you're going to ask those questions, you're going to get run over. Hey, slow down. You don't have to be so impatient. Just bid. No, there's a reason why they're impatient, and the market's actually going in the direction that it should. That's why an edge zone is green and becomes one. It's no coincidence it rotates back on it, not only once, but rotates back on it twice. This one worked, this one didn't. This one worked if the market went down pretty quickly, probably in the same bar. It didn't. But you got to know the logic behind what makes price go up quick. And then when it doesn't, it's you punched here. The sellers got aggressive and they punched the market in the face and the market didn't flinch. I can't tell you that this moment, but I could tell you to start being careful that that's the case in this moment so that this isn't a surprise, that if you're slightly above this moment, this example, you're expecting this to happen. So it's a probability now, right? Qualification. But you got to know when they take a bid offer and they quickly hit the bid below it, that's pretty damn aggressive. That's what edge zones are. They're showing you aggressiveness. And then they're giving you the right question, but more importantly, at the right time to ask it. The right question is, what does the market do? But the right time to ask it is when you see these things light up. Because you could be asking, what does the market do? Every uptick and downtick, you'll go crazy. But if you say, hey, the market should go down or at least stay below 62 even, and it is, you're not surprised. Now, this should be resistance. And if it's not, sometimes it won't be, but at least you know what it should be. Should this be support? Yeah, probably, but not as probable as these two rotations because they happen. But we could add all this, layer all this in as much as we want. I wanted people to understand that when a bid goes offered and they hit the bid below it, I'm going to put this on Sim real quick. Is this Sim? Yeah, okay. Wait, all right. Let me bring a dome over. Here's the bid offer. You guys see this? Let me open it up. It's close to the prices I use as an example. This is the point of what I'm trying to make. See, it's 63 quarter bid at 61 even offer. 3/4 even, 3/4 even, 3/4 even, bid offer, bid offer, bid offer, 170 by 259. All right, bid offer, bid offer. Now, you guys might see this. My voice is a little faster than you might see the screen, but watch what happens. As soon as it goes from offer to bid or bid to offer, watch what I do. Watch what I do. That's 250 up. So technically speaking, it could go either way. Now they're hitting the 60-75. It's a chance that it goes offer. Now look at what I did. What did I just do? Is that a real order? No. If it was, I could scratch it or even take a +1. But what did I just do? When it went 63 quarter offer, I sold the bid below it, and it went offered. If a lot of people did that, it would go red over here, over on the edge zone here, guys. Look at my cursor. All right. So let's say I'm short one at 60.5. Again, this is not real. And you know it's not real because watch when I bid it. Does that change that number? No. So here, watch this. I want to get out of this thing, but I'm gonna get out at a bad price if it goes 60-75 bid. Let's see it goes 60-75 bid, then I'll buy the one evens. I'll buy the offer above it, which is generally aggressive. I'm just trying to show you. Edge zones are showing you where other people are getting aggressive. Watch, it's about to go 60-75 bid. Well, almost did. They were chewing through it. You got to know what's trading. That's this number right here. See this number right here? 1 to 3 lot. Now they hit the bid. Now they did. Now here, I buy it at 61 even. If I did that with a bunch of contracts, it would go green over here because it just went bid and I bought the offer. If it was a lot and the imbalance showed enough for it to go green. Do you see how aggressive I was? I hit the bid below and the offer above. If a lot of people did that, then it's showing you a lot of aggression. I don't care that 3-4 people are aggressive. I care when the market's aggressive. That's the difference. I want people, I would love for everybody to work for me because I would make everybody do a quoting test. And say, quote this market to me. And you'd say, half bid 75 offer, $1.75 by 150, half 75, half 75, half trade 25 times 70 left, half 75, 70 by 247, half 75, half 75, 60 on the bid offer, 90 at 50, quarter half, quarter half, quarter half. Because you say the bid first and the offer, quarter half, quarter half, quarter half, 400 by 100. You're not doing this to impress anyone, and this in and of itself isn't going to make you money, but this is an important part of following the market better or easier than you otherwise would. Without this skill, it's harder to follow the market. That's all. If you're the best quoter in the world, it's going to make you the best trader in the world, but it's an important kind of mixture in the concrete to make it solid, to make the foundation solid. Quarter half, 380 by 130, quarter bid for 400, quarter half. Now 200 on the offer, 4 by 200. You know, you could shave it. You could use some slang. Half bid, half bid for 150, 250 offered at 75, half 75, half bid 75 offer, 200 up, 200 up. Pretend like you're telling somebody else what the market is and he can't see it. Give him the information. Half bid 179, 200 offered at 75. Jim, what do you want to do? Half bid 75 offer. Well, what's going on? Well, we're in a green zone right now, but it's worked 3 times. This is the second test on the second rotation on a second test. Half 75. You got to be careful buying this thing. Right now, 61 evens should be resistance. It's a little bullish above there, but right now, sell stop's probably below 60. All right, half 75. 90 left on the 75 offer. Half 75, half 75 bid now. How many? Now 75 offer, 100 at 75. He'll go how many? 150 at 75. How much on the bid? 240. Half 75. 240 by 170. Where do you think the sell stops are? Probably below 60. Why? Because a lot of aggressive buyers came in there, pushed it up. It's always already worked as support a few times. Half 75. 200 by 150. You don't have to trade this fast. I just want you to think faster. If you think faster, everything else slows down. And this is just a skill that and say you never are able to get consistent as a trader. Say you're never able to get consistent. This is a skill you should be good at. You at least learn this. You're trading a market. Follow it. You can't accurately trade something you can't accurately follow. And by quoting like this, put yourself in a position to know what you're looking for, what he's wearing, to know what the guy is wearing that you're looking for. Quarter half. Half offer 180 now. 180 offered at a half. I'm talking to a guy who's asking me, there's the quarter bid 360. Below that, 60 even bid for 500. 240 offered at a half. Quarter half, quarter half, quarter half. I think we could drop down to 58.75. Quarter half. Half bid. And the guy might hang up on you, say there's nothing going on, I'm leaving. That's how the floor worked, right? Desk brokers would communicate with ARB clerks that would communicate with floor brokers that would communicate with traders, and that's how now all this stuff, there's still communication. Add the words to it. Add some words to it. Quarter half, quarter half. And it's not as hard as it might sound. All right, there's 60-40 now offered at a half. $1.90 offered at a half. How are you going to know if it jumps or gets reduced inside or how much trades unless you're quoting it? How are you going to know quick, sooner rather than later, about absorption unless you're quoting it? For sell stops, you'll see some red come out below the green to push us lower. And I would think below this green to look out below moment. Did this session help some people understanding why an edge zone would come in red or green? Red because the bid below what was just bid gets hit right away. Green because the offer above what was just offered gets lifted right away. If 60-75s right now, best offer, go bid, and a bunch of 61s even trade right away, it would be a green imbalance if it just moved into that zone. Right now, it's also calculating on what it was prior to that. I'm glad you said that. Someone said NQ is too fast for this. You know why it's too fast for this? Because this is too fast for you. You make this slow, you make the NQ slower. Now, you don't have to quote it tick for tick because it is faster, but you open it up and you quote it a handle at a time. You have an idea of what the bids and offers are. But of course it's fast. This is fast for people. Quoting makes it slow down. Everybody, in order to understand something, you got to slow it down. Quoting slows it down. But it's kind of goofy to try to do it. It's a goofy exercise to try to do. The auctioneer, the market knows where it's priced better than anybody. It doesn't necessarily know where it wants to go, but the market knows where it's priced, right? It knows right away it's 61 even bid for 210 and 162 at 61 quarter, right? It knows that. It knows that better than anybody. You know what the market's like? An auctioneer at an auction, live auction. He knows where the price is better than anybody. And you know what his job is? To get you emotional. That's what his job is. So you pay higher. You stay in the bid. Well, that's what the market's job is. It's to get you emotional. Not on purpose, just what it does when there's money involved. Get you emotional. So follow it so you're not as emotional as it's moving. Follow it better so you're not as vulnerable to be emotional, because its job is to screw you up. This job and this dome and this quote and this market is to get you screwed up, to make you emotional. And the only way you could shave off that emotion is to slow it down. And you slow it down by following it faster. Do you think, and I don't want to compare trading to fighting. In war, totally different, a lot more to risk your life than money, but sometimes the mind doesn't know the difference. But guys who fight, if they're well trained, and most of them are, they're not as emotional as you and I are if you don't know what you're doing. Or you and I would be if I was thrown in combat. I'm not trained. It's moving faster for me than it is for them. It's moving faster for me than it is for them if I were to be thrown into combat. I'm not trained for it. So I'm not going to follow orders or know what to look for. So anything you understand, it's because you slowed it down. Do you think that a carpenter is, if you have no idea what it's about, is working fast when he's building a deck? Yeah, but he's not. He understands it. He knows what he's doing. Does someone who speaks Spanish sound like they're talking fast? They do to me. Why? Because I don't understand Spanish. I sound like I'm talking fast if they don't understand English. Everything you understand is not going by fast, at least not to you. To the people who don't understand, it's moving too fast. That's why volatility, you get a lot of retail traders say, oh, I stay away from that, moving too fast. That's the nerdiest thing I've ever heard someone say. That's the way I look at someone who tells me that, oh, I'm not trading volatility, it's moving too fast for me. I don't mean to sound condescending and being nerdy, but that's the most retail-ish thing I've ever heard someone say. It's just a middle that they don't know what they're doing. If you can't trade it fast, don't try to trade it slow. But slow it down for you. And then you'll be like, I want it to be windier if I'm a surfer because the waves are higher maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good analogy. Slow it down, and it starts with tying the edge zones into quoting. You want to learn absorption? You want to learn all that stuff? That's awesome. That's great stuff. Make it easier to see and follow. I was talking to a guy. This is what made me want to do this event today and move Brad back to next week. He's a pilot. I mentioned this story in the room last week. I find it fascinating how fast they could talk to the tower and remember what each other is saying. And then he says, and we're having a conversation with this and that about other things. And it's fascinating to me. And you got a lot of risk. That all these people are depending on you to do your job. They trust you're going to do your job. It's a lot of pressure on them. I guarantee it's not fast for him. One last thing I'll leave you with is when everything was on a trading floor, there was some dumbest people in the world that worked on a floor, just like any other business. Not everybody on the floor was smart. Most weren't. But there were some really dumb guys that didn't do well in math or in school, and they weren't bright, but they were brokers, and they knew how to add and subtract better than anybody because that's what they did. They'd be given an order to buy 100, and they would buy 10 and 12 and 13 and 18 and 17, and they know they'd have 43 left. And they know who they did them with and everything else. Not because they're smart, because they practiced, trained, slowed it down. So when you ever looked at a trading floor, didn't it seem like it was moving fast and it was disorganized and you didn't know what was going on? Right? Anybody that's seen a trading floor on a video or a picture, it's like, how do they know what the hell's going on, right? Everybody would say that. And yet people open up a trading account and think they know what's going on just because the numbers are in front of them and there's no yelling. The yelling is what makes you think that they didn't know what was going on. And you're missing that with this. But if you quote the market, you could assume, forget about trying to get any kind of plug-in that will give you audio and stuff like that. That'll drive you batty. You'll be able to simulate the audio in your head if you're good at quoting. The faster that you're quoting, the louder it would be. Rule of thumb. So when it goes 61.75 bid and a bunch of 62 evens trade, it would be a spike in volume. You could slow down. So question is, I made a good point today. Don't try to speed up a slow market, but I'm saying now you could slow down a fast market. Yes, big part of what I'm saying. You should always slow down the market. You can't speed up a market. That's when if that's what you're trying to do, you're going to have to pull the reins in. The whole point is, what used to be fast is no longer considered fast. That's the definition of achieving some semblance of understanding, right? The definition of understanding is that what was once confusing is no longer. Pretty simple. If I put someone who never seen a dome before, is this going to be confusing? Damn all right it's going to be. It's a bunch of numbers on the screen. Let alone this. When you start breaking it down, you know where these numbers come from, and the whole concept of aggressive buyers and sellers. Once you identify buyers and sellers, and once I tell you this is what, hey, let me bring this back. Let's just pretend these are houses. All the people here are buyers, and all the people up in here in red have signs in front of their house. Once you clear up all these houses, we go to the next level. What's up there? And you go up and down the ladder. Sometimes it makes it easier for people to understand bids and offers if you apply it in a real life scenario, because they know about buying and selling a home for the most part. How do you quote the whole handle is you don't, even though every price trades, you only quote, let me change this over to here's the NASDAQ. How do you quote the whole handle? You're all about 4 ticks apart. Right now it's 75 even bid, 75, 76 even offer, 75. That's right now it's 4 even, 5 even, 4 even, 5 even. You don't quote the middle ticks. 5 even bid, 6 even offer. Then you could say, hey, 4 even, 74 even, 76 even for size until you beef up the 75 evens. Right now it's 75 even, 76. You just miss and skip the middle ticks. 76 evens are bid, 77 offer, right? Not as hard as you think, but you got to try it. Listen, it's a lot harder to learn a language, to learn karate, than learn a quote. But it's not sexy. That's why nobody wants to do it. If I gave this class or presentation to the masses in the trading world, most guys would be like, what's that going to do? Oh, that's going to make me money? They'd all be, yeah. No, it's not. Go keep being afraid of fast markets when it's volatile, tough guy. That's what you say to them. But you guys are different. You came every week. That's what's cool. I see the same names every week, and the new people who join come, and I know that so everybody's giving themselves the best chance to win. That's going to end it for this session. I'm going to stop the recording.